Yeah, hi, Jeff Prentice. The question came up recently about how to present for designs, and rather than just create a template and shoot it off to people, I thought I'd show you how to create a template. And there's two ways to approach this. One would be to well, first you have to decide what kinds of designs you're creating. Whether you're going to create a larger design and then flatten it and bring it over into a presentation canvas, or whether you're going to be creating for smaller designs and making those designs directly on the presentation canvas. So the first thing I would do, okay, once I figured that out, is I think I'll try making a presentation canvas that also serves as a place where I make my designs. This is for more of an exercise kind of a design. It's not a big finished complex design where that needs its own canvas. Okay, I'm going to go with the largest size web format that I would go for, which is 1024x768. That way most people aren't going to have to scroll both ways to see this when it's presented. Okay, so this is where I'm going to have my 4 exercises. The next thing I need are 4 little rectangles. I'm going to limit myself to the landscape format. Okay, right now. And to do that, I'm going to say File, New again, but I'm going to select 600, 800. Okay, and I'm going to select all. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to paste that. And you can see over here in the layers window, it's pasted that into my into the layers window. Now, with my magic wand, I'm going to select the canvas outside of that, and here you can see that white canvas on white canvas. I'm going to do a select inverse, which is Command Shift I or Apple Shift I. All right, and I'm going to resize that down with Control T or Apple T, and I'm going to eyeball it basically. You know, I can set up guides and rulers and all kinds of things, but let me just kind of show you kind of a ballpark approach to this. That looks about right. I could probably get 4 of those on there. Okay. Now, maybe even a little bigger. I'm going to hit Enter or Return, and now I'm going to stroke this. I'm going to do Edit, Stroke, 1 pixel. And I'm going to deselect, which is Apple D, and there's my canvas. Now hitting V on the Move tool jumps me to the Move tool. Holding down my Alt key, okay, I'm going to move this over and copy it, giving myself probably something like that, I guess. And notice that it created a new layer. I could have held down my Shift key if I wanted it to stay in alignment with what the thing I am copying from. Okay. Now I want to look at this. I want to have room for my labels here, so I have to think about, again, you know, there's no one solution to the question that's being asked. I mean, it depends. I think in this case, for this particular assignment, I want to have room for my labels underneath. So I think I'm going to give myself a pretty generous margin there, because, you know, underneath, down in here, I'm going to put not only my name, but I'm going to put, this is an exercise in contrast, so I might put thick, thin, happy, sad, dark, light, you know, whatever it ends up being. Now watch, I'm going to shift click. I'm going to hold down my shift key while I'm clicking on these. I have auto select layer turned on in the modifier menu on my Move tool. Notice that these are all selected, and now I'm going to move them all up. Okay, I just want a little bit more room. Notice how the margin underneath these bottom 2 is the same as the margin underneath these top 2. Generally, I like to have the vertical margin the same as the horizontal margin, but in this case I think it's okay. And I'm going to click somewhere on the canvas to deselect, and I'm ready to make my contrast designs. Now, I would create a new layer, okay, and I can name these layers if I want to stay organized. You know, I can call this, you know, panel 1, panel 2, all you have to do is double click on them, and you'll see you can enter in, you know, if I wanted to name these, I generally don't, but that doesn't mean it's a good thing. All right, so maybe this is design 1. All right, so now I could, and I recommend, without getting into the specifics of the assignment, I like to use just, I start out with geometric shapes. Here I'm going to use pixels. I don't need it to be a vector shape. I'm going to make it maybe 5 pixels wide, and this is where I can start playing around with my shapes. Maybe that's, you know, maybe I'm going to do many few. So here's my few. I'm going to use my move tool. I'm going to copy that over, and maybe here's my many. And so here I can get into overlapping, and whoops, I didn't want to do that. I want to make sure I select, you know, one of these lines. But you can see here I can just copy and copy and copy and copy. You know, in an assignment that deals with contrast, then I wouldn't want to have too few, since I'm going to call this many few, right? I want to make sure I have many, and probably the biggest thing I find, the biggest thing I find in student work is that they don't push the contrast enough. And, you know, then I can make decisions on whether they're going to touch the frame, whether they're going to be in alignment, you know, all that. My rulers, Apple R, Control R, I can draw down guides from those. These are invisible guides that don't show up when you hide them. But if I wanted them to be all organized, then I could use these as guidelines. Right? Now, so without getting into specifics, we're still talking about what to do for a template. Arial, 11 point or 11 pixel, sharp, crisp, strong, or smooth. Just make sure you're not on none. And here, and this usually for a 4-up design, I would say clockwise from top left. Okay. But in this case, since we're going to have multiple words, you know, I think I'm going to put the labels underneath each design, and then down here just have my name. So let's think of that as a template. I would have, you know, contrast. I mean, that's just a placeholder, right? Obviously, this is going to be few and many, but actually maybe it's clear if I just say example 1, example 2, and then I can fill in that text. Now I'm going to have them all right justified. I'm going to have them close to the design but not touching, and I'm going to copy this over. This is where a guide would really come in handy. So I make sure that that text is lined up, and here I'm going to copy this down, and I'm going to bring, I can actually measure the distance, you know, of that label if I wanted to. I'm just going to eyeball it. Again, all of these things, attention to detail is very important. I want to have consistent margins, and then finally I would probably have my name. You know, it might be cleaner maybe if I line this up left justified, because I'm going to have my name lower right. So rather than have a whole bunch of information munged together that's hard to kind of understand what's what you're looking at, I would put my name down here. Okay, so imagine that this is, you know, many, few, thick, thin, happy, sad, light, dark, whatever it is that you're picking, and then down here would be the name. Okay, title and name 2012, whatever. Okay, I'd line that up with the right edge of that square. So this is one way to do it, right?